I was master. I was a vessel. We were going to Sriracha. The pilot came up. The vessel was stopped. He came and he was. I could make out that he was the loss of breath.
Loss of breath.
Yeah. When he came, he started him because he didn't want to show that. Then he said, "Okay, Captain, what are the engines?" So I told him, "Do you want to sit?" And he said, "Yes." So I made him sit. I gave him water and I said, "Don't worry, there is no current, nothing. The vessel is stopped till your time.
Right.
It's okay. And if you need any help, any medical assistance, let me know. It's just relax. There's no problem."
Right.
He needed those 10 minutes. He didn't do anything. He waited. He had his water, everything. Of course, we went alongside. While we were going alongside, he told me, "Captain, never come from this side. There is one shallow patch here which is not there in the correction yet.
Wow. Okay.
And sometimes in these months the current is this way.
Okay.
So approach this."
Hi guys. We are heading on for a very, very interesting podcast today. And the person we have with us is somebody that I've been meaning to bring into my studio for quite some time now. This is Captain Indranil Chari. He's a man of many talents actually, and he's been a sailor from 1995 to 2010 when he became a master at 2007 and then switched to offshore vessels after that. Captain Chari used to head some of the biggest training facilities in Eastern India. And then he's also been into audits and inspections. He's a certified Marshall Island Flag State Inspector himself. And he's done a number of VDR analysis and VDR audits, which is the topic of the day for us. And this is something I believe has been in discussion for quite some time now. And I believe this would be a very, very interesting topic to cover. And we are hoping to answer a lot of questions and doubts related to VDR analysis and remote nav audits. Of course, Captain Chari has a lot of other fields of expertise, but today we are going to stick to that topic primarily. So, Captain Chari, welcome to the studio. Welcome here, and thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure, really, and I was also looking forward to coming here and meeting you and doing this. So yeah. Finally, I'm here.
Yeah.
So I am no expert to start with on VDR, but yes, every day is a learning process. So you can ask me anything.
Right.
Whatever I know, I can probably, whatever my experiences, we can share.
Sure.
And I hope that this becomes as interesting as we hope it to be.
Right. No, I have been, we have worked together for a couple of years now and we have discussed at length on how we need to, go down to the basics of, VDR, by the way, for people who might not know what is a VDR. If you could just explain in a bit that what exactly it is and what is the concept?
Yeah. So, of course, people from the shipping world will understand what a VDR is. It's basically something like you have in the flights, which is a black box.
A black box, yes.
So in the shipping industry, that black box we call as VDR, and it's basically voyage data recorder. And we had it for some time now, and initially it was introduced only for when there was any casualty or any incident or accident. For that purpose, so that they could play it back and understand why and what happened.
That was the original purpose.
That was the original purpose. But now, slowly, this VDR analysis, they are clubbing it with something called RNA, like you mentioned, which stands for Remote Navigation Audit. So now they don't want the owners or the clients, they don't want an incident or accident to happen to understand what is wrong.
Yes.
They want to do a
proactive
approach. So they want to know how their bridge team is working and would want to eliminate what's going wrong so that there doesn't come a time that there is a casualty or an incident. So VDR analysis is because on the in short, the VDR equipment has all the other equipment inputs.
Yeah, so it's basically capturing the entire navigation. What is happening on the bridge is being captured in different ways.
Navigation and
radars
all equipments are there in it, including the audio.
So the discussions that are happening on the bridge, which is very interesting. We'll go into that.
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
And now most of the bridge or the wheelhouses have CCTV.
Right.
So there's another aspect of VDR that we could discuss later. Is now we are getting the CCTV footage as well.
Right.
So when it's not only about the VDR now, so you have the VDR along with the audio
and the CCTV. Now that's
and the images.
So that's almost like you being present on the bridge.
It's almost like that, and because the images are time marked, so you know exactly who is saying what is happening.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so so there is a lot of pressure on the guys who are sailing.
Hidden pressure, we call it.
I'm glad that I'm not sailing anymore. I'm on the other side.
So you're in a safe spot now, just to be commenting on them and not
not exactly safe, but because. Okay, we will discuss this as we go along. But so I'm kind of So this is and VDR has transformed a lot for the last 5 years, 6 years. We will discuss that, and I will tell you what VDR analysis I used to do earlier, and how things have changed now. So like I said, it's still something that is metamorphing and transforming. And a lot of things are happening in and around the VDR.
Right.
In short, it's the black box of the ship.
Yeah.
So that is the VDR, and and owners and shipping industry, they are going by the VDR analysis. They do take it seriously. So it's not something that you just do offhand. It has to be done professionally and seriously. Yeah.
Absolutely, because there is so many. I think you will agree to this, that we have also seen it, that there's so much of a spectrum of people that are conducting the VDR analysis, and it's not just about reading the data. It's got to do a lot about your experience that you put into it, right? And that's one of the major differentiators between one VDR analysis and another VDR analysis. The reports could be so much different depending on the experience. Yeah,
true. Yes, you're right about that. So anybody can do a VDR, like you said. But yes, the reports, when you read it, when I read my first report and when I read my report today, there's a lot of difference. I can practically laugh at my first report, although I was already master for I think 10 years when I did my first VDR. But it's completely different, and the perspective has changed.
Right.
And like you said, that it probably cannot be done by everybody. So I think it's fair to say that I am also a VDR course provider.
Yeah, we have done that. Just for the audience who do not know, we used to conduct courses on VDR, and you were the instructor and the main instructor over there, which is where we have trained a number of VDR analysts. That was, of course, a year and a half back. We are not doing that anymore. But you have been in the role of not only doing your own analysis, but also to teach other analysts. That's I don't think many people would be able to say that. That's probably something very, very rare.
Yeah, because I believe that the best way to learn is to teach.
Feynman technique. Yes. There's this technique
called when you're teaching, and if there's a smart guy there, he will ask you certain questions which will make you smarter while you answer it. So so I'm always into sharing my knowledge. I think knowledge always grows that way. In either or. So the guy who's giving the knowledge, the guy who's receiving it, it always grows. So we've done that, and so I think that every analyst is different.
Sure.
They, like you said, they use their own experience when they're making the reports.
Yes.
And each experience will tell you. And for what I'm trying to say is that when you read a report of someone And even after 5 years, if you read the report of that guy, you will know that, okay, this guy, because the format of reporting
Right.
remains the same.
So
that's
okay.
also something that an analyst should look into.
Look into.
For me, I keep looking into other observations which other analysts have done.
Right.
So that, I can, I am looking at the radar at a screen at a particular way, looking for only certain things. And then I see another report where it is there in the radar, but I never saw it because that was not my perspective. Right. So I see 10 more reports and I know, okay, this is also something that I need to check.
You need to check.
So my report keeps changing. My observations, I try to get the observations that I give.
So this is a very interesting point that you touched upon, really, because people might think that it's only your navigational experience that is used when you're doing an analysis, but what you're saying is different. You're saying it's not only your navigational experience, but also your experience in doing other analysis or reading other hundreds of reports that now comes together in your experience as an analyst. That adds up.
Yes, very much. And VDR happened to me, when people were losing jobs. I used to be a navigation auditor and a trainer on board vessels for a company. And then COVID happened. And, travel stopped.
Correct. I think roughly around 2018 or not even 2018. I believe it's probably around 2019 or 2020. We started having this trend of doing the VDR analysis, getting done on board, and companies also coming in actively. And now I think it's become a part of TMSA requirement, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. Yes. But that's only for tankers. But what has happened is absolutely right. So when COVID happened, before that, auditors used to go on board, spend 5 days, travel up, down, stay in hotels.
Navigational audit.
That was a cost for the company.
Absolutely.
And then when COVID happened, and then suddenly they realized, they can do it remotely and get the same results, sometimes better results.
Yes.
Because remember, in the RNA that you're doing remotely through the VDR, you are actually getting what they are doing. So
RNA is remote nav audit, navigational
so you're doing
audit,
an audit remotely, and you need the VDR for that.
Right. That's so VDR is one part of the remote navigation audit.
Very, very important part of the RNA.
But then beyond the VDR, you need the log books, and you need to see the movement books, the deck log, all these other things. Right.
So, so that means that if a mistake is happening on the EGDIS or on the radar during, say, Singapore transit, it's happening. You on the VDR, an RNA, you are seeing it. Right. But had I had to travel to that vessel after the vessel would have docked in Singapore,
you couldn't have found it.
There's no way I can find out that.
Absolutely.
So for me, I'm sure the owners also agree. RNA or VDR, if done well, is more effective than an auditor coming on board. Master knows, okay, the auditor is going to come.
Right.
Okay, prepare everything. Right. Fill up this checklist which was missed. You know the drill.
Of course.
You've done this so many times.
And now, as you said, if the company is giving you a CCTV footage, this is a solution which is not only better, but it's more cost effective for the owners. So that's a great thing. We are all moving towards sustainability, and costs have always played a very big role. We know in our industry, in every decision. So usually what we assumed is that, okay, something less costly would be less effective, but this is what you're saying is it could be even more effective.
It is.
Because I still feel this when I talk to some companies, there is still this, and I'm just coming with it with an open mind. I don't have an answer or against, but I feel that there's a lot of perception in the industry that a remote nav audit can never be as effective as a VDR audit. But what you're saying is sort of different, right? You're saying
you mean that a remote nav audit will not be as effective as a physical audit?
No, that's not what I meant. What I meant is that most companies have this perception that a physical nav audit of a person sailing on board cannot be as effective as a remote nav audit with a VDR or something. Yes.
A physical nav audit, the only advantage that also plays is that you can look at the guy, his reaction, his the way he's answering the questions when you're asking,
right,
his body language, that gives you that you can never
another
do,
dimension of
that you can never do,
understanding.
that you can never do
Yeah.
with the. But what I'm
True.
trying to say is the procedures
Yeah.
and the way the system is working,
Right.
the way the equipments are being perceived by
Right.
the navigation team,
Sure.
the interaction between the navigators, it's all there in the VDR. The only thing missing is that physical touch.
Physical interaction.
But if you do an unannounced VDR RNA,
Yeah.
VDR audit and RNA, I think it's one of the best, and for the bridge team,
Yeah.
this is one of the best possible.
So you get a real feel
Yes,
of
yes.
what is going to happen on
Yes,
board and what the culture is.
Physical audit, yes. You want to do a safety inspection, you want to do the other inspection, that you can't get through the.
Sure.
So
Yes.
probably owners are, they are thinking that let me get one guy and a physical audit, I'll get everything done.
Right. Right.
Whereas in this case, you can only get the RNA. So this
okay.
is probably a bone of contention, a point of interest for the owners, where they have to decide that should I get this guy and get everything done,
Right.
or should I get this done separately and then I still need a guy for.
Right, absolutely.
So
that's another consideration that often comes, because if somebody is sailing on a ship for 7 days or 8 days, he's not just going to do he's doing all the audits,
including the training and
including
all
the
that.
training.
So it all
of
depends
course.
from
That-
owner to
that
owner.
is another
But plus and minus,
Plus
I
and
think the
minus.
biggest plus is that the physical, I can, when you go for an accident investigation, it's like you can do an navigation accident investigation by the VDR also.
Right.
You can.
Right.
But when you go there, it's different.
Very different.
Very
yes.
different. So to
Absolutely.
answer your question, yes, accident investigation probably
Right.
you must do the
You
VDR,
should be
and also you should go and do the
on
interviews.
board. So you're basically increasing the budget for the owners and every. No, I'm just joking.
What the owner
I'm
wants.
just joking. Of course, that's much more effective.
Yes.
And no, definitely. And I'm sorry, we went a little differently from what we had planned initially. So taking a few steps back, when did you, how did you get into the VDR? Because you've done so many things that I know of, and maybe things that I don't know of. So not to be controversial here, but
A lot of things that nobody knows.
that I don't probably know of. So of all the things that you could have done, what made you enter into this VDR field? And
so the COVID times, that just before that I was into audits and used to travel, and also when COVID happened, travel stopped.
Yeah.
And then I was doing nothing,
Right.
for 3-4 months, and then one of my, you can call mentors of VDR, he called me and he said that because the physical audits have stopped, so now the companies, they still want the audit, because like you said, it's a TMSA requirement and you needed to do at least one a year. So he told me, do you know how to do VDR? So I was like, no, not yet. I don't. But I know. I can. So that's how it started. And I think in July 2019, I did my first VDR with a lot of effort, because it was something, there are a lot of
glitches which happens
initially, if you don't know what to do, what not to do, what to click, not to click.
Sure. Yeah.
So it took me a while, and people helped me also that time. Before I knew it, I was already doing 10 VDRs a month, and now I think crossed more than 200 over the last 2 years.
Right.
Because now VDR I've reduced. I don't do
200, huh? Whoa.
Yeah, roughly 150 to 200. 200 definitely, yes. Right. I have other clients who are giving me.
Of course. Yeah.
So I have I have done, and I have really learned a lot.
Right.
And one thing that I think I should add is that when I do the VDR, I get to know more equipments and more advanced equipments. The radar that I was using, or the EGDIS that I was using in 2007 or 8, or when I left sailing in 2015 or 14, is not the same what they are using. But because technology, so I am very glad. And I'm very
absolutely
happy
upgraded and updated with the latest what is going on in navigation.
I can do it through the VDR part. So that's how it started.
Right.
I still do. But yeah, I'm into, like you said, I'm into a lot of other things. But I love doing the VDR part.
Yeah.
And it's something. It's like you said. It's like I'm on the ship again.
Right.
So
right.
I don't miss the
Part of the
sailing.
bridge team
I don't
and,
miss the
yeah.
sailing, and
Right.
I'm on the bridge, but I don't have those tensions.
Right. No, I mean, I think one of the most important things that I also want to discuss with you later in the broadcast is the insights that you have into the actual operation of the bridge team, and how you feel that is, whether it's evolving, whether it's how, I mean, your impression of that. But before we go into that, I just want to understand what you touched upon very briefly, and sort of we discussed that TMSA, what is the requirement of having a VDR? I mean, it's one per year for tankers and bulk carriers. Is there
bulk
anything
carriers?
else?
I don't think DBMS is.
I believe DBMS was mentioning. I'm not 100% sure on this, but
Yes.
I think there is a mention of VDR in the DBMS as well.
TMSA is sure, and now you have SIRE 2, which says that you have to be TMSA compliant.
Yes.
And
Like
now
bringing together.
there is a little confusion. People are thinking that SIRE 2 is asking you to do
No, yeah.
RNA, but it's not like that.
Yeah.
SIRE 2 is asking you to do the TMSA.
TMSA
TMSA is
requirements.
telling you to. Yeah, so it is there.
Is it required on every level of TMSA, or it's just an advanced level of TMSA that requires VDR?
I'm not sure. I think level 3. I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
But it's a self-assessment. Everybody would want to be at a higher level.
Sure.
So everybody will do it.
Sure.
I mean, you will not.
I mean,
but I know one thing, because you've also done, we both have done research on SIRE. SIRE 2, the option is there when you're filling up the PIQ. The option is there. If you have not done the audit, you don't do it. So it doesn't come into the SIRE. It will not become a question there.
Yes, it doesn't show up in the customized,
but I don't think
compiled PIQ.
Yes, exactly. So I don't think, but any owner will take that chance.
Sure. Yes, of course.
So basically, it's a mandatory thing.
Yeah.
Either you do a physical one, or you do but you have to have a nav audit.
Right.
Yeah.
That's because the requirement, sometimes people are a little I mean, especially the junior officers might want to know, okay, why do I have to give, I mean, because sometimes it feels like a hidden pressure that I did not know this is going to happen, and now the captain is saying that all our recordings will be going to the office. Yes. And I'm sure you feel that, I mean, I don't know if you have you might not even see it in the report, but it's sort of a given that, I mean, we have had several cases where when a captain is arriving in port, he's getting a message that, Captain, you need to send us 12 hours data. Yes. And now everything is going around in their minds. Oh, what did we speak about when were we talking good about the company?
That's the main, that's the main point of worry.
Yeah.
But just to touch on, so there is actually two basic types of, that can be announced and it can be unannounced. Right. And
I would say there's a third type, which is for a company who's doing VDR audits regularly. Unannounced for them would be almost like an announced, probably, right? Okay. Like if they know that any port my data could go, they would obviously probably follow a different kind of, yes.
So, we've both been master mariners. We talk about safety is a habit. Safety is in the habit.
Right.
So I know of a company. What they did, they told the vessel crew that every time you transit the Singapore straits,
yes,
you have to send us the VDR.
This
and
was
we
on
will
tankers.
Analyze. Doesn't matter.
any type of ship. Every time on.
So the company told all their vessels. Now, so what happened? So every time when they're transiting Singapore, they set up, like you said. So they have their antennas up. The data is going to go.
Right.
So they are absolutely by the book. They are following all procedures.
Right.
As per the SMS, as per Singapore local rules.
Sure.
As per safety, as per this. They do this 12 times in a year. Okay. Or every time. Because they know that
every ship does it 12 times.
Every ship, whenever they transit, they're doing it. So, okay, so in a year, they're doing 12 times. Or in 6 months, whatever the route is. Whatever So what happens is now, the company is not analyzing every VDR data. But they're telling them that we are.
Right. Okay.
And they're
taking the data.
And they're taking the data. They're doing one.
Correct.
They're doing one and sending a report.
Okay.
So what happens here now? The master, the chief officer, the second officer, the third officer, the duty AB.
Yeah.
They know that it's going to the office.
It's going to go to the office.
First 3-4 times they do it out of compulsion.
Right.
But the 5th time
they do it as a habit.
So what the company has done now...
That's a great approach, actually.
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
So what the company has done...
We shouldn't probably reveal the fact that they're not doing every time.
Yeah.
So that now the people might think we have a 1 in 10 chance of getting caught.
Even if we reveal, the people will never...
They will never know which one is going.
We've sailed. So even now, I being a VDR analyst, I go as a master and my company says, and I know everything about, say, what happens in VDR.
Right.
I will still be under pressure and I will brief my team that, guys, we have to follow what we do.
But is it not then happening that this company that you're talking about, if they are following, do you feel that they are only complying, going up to that standard of compliance because they are in the Singapore Strait? Or
it can be English channel.
Are they doing it for other places in the world also, or they get out of Singapore Strait?
This was a very broad example.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
A company could just might as well tell their guys that every arrival departure send us.
Yeah.
They could do that.
Right.
But what are they doing? They are just inculcating the habit of the safe thing.
Right.
That is what they're doing. So this can be done any which way.
Right.
But I just gave you an example of the straits. It can happen English channel. It can happen, like for example, some audits or VDR audits that I get. It is just not like if you can go into the type of the VDR audits. I think that is one section. Then I can probably. Yes. So there are a lot of types of VDR that people send.
Yes.
The owners send. Sometimes they want a 6-hour. VDR.
Quick flash audit.
3 hours, 6 hours. They just send you. So it will be a quick arrival, a quick departure, or something like that.
Right.
And sometimes they will give you arrival. Okay. So that arrival will start from say 2 hours prior pilot.
Right.
Yeah. And then right up to berthing.
So that would be about 8 hours, or
depending on the port.
12 hours.
Sometimes 12, sometimes 8, sometimes it has a channel transit.
Yeah,
we don't know.
So it might be even.
But they want to gauge the full arrival from the 1 hour notice or 2 hour notice, whatever it is.
Yes.
Sometimes they give you 1 arrival, 1 departure, 1 channel, 1 anchoring, and 1 deep sea. Open sea.
Okay.
So if you include everything, it will be 40-50 hours. But they want to know what the bridge team
all the possibilities.
Yes. So there are a lot of types of audits. So to get back to your question, that so they can tell me, they can tell the vessel that every arrival departure send, and they can keep sending, and they have a pattern.
Right.
And in the report, this is what's happening that the company needs to do or the company needs to work on.
So you see that pattern happening over a couple of audits of when you're doing it for the same company, that pattern becomes clearer and clearer and clearer.
Absolutely. So it is not about one RNA or one VDR. I think it's a like you said, it's a you want to know the KPIs, you want to know the area.
Exactly.
So any serious company who don't just want to do it for TMSA or SIRE, they will probably do something like what I told you.
And I believe a number of companies have started this even before it was a requirement, or they are doing more than the requirement. They're not just doing it. Like, for example, the one you said is doing a TMSA, doing a VDR audit every Singapore transit, even if they're not actually doing it, if they're doing it twice or thrice also, it's way more than a required thing. So they are taking it that seriously, and they are doing it out of their own intention to know about their vessels, which is great. It gives you an exact idea of what is going on.
Actually, what happens normally is as soon as VDR audit, so the bridge team becomes jittery. They say, now the blame game will start. This guy didn't do that.
Right.
Of course, it also I think
and
the onus is also on the owners.
Let's face it, it's not all perfect. There is a blame game related to this. We cannot be, we cannot say that there's no blame game that is associated with it.
I agree, but I feel that, and even for that matter, we are going again and again to SIRE. SIRE is also not about their
Correct.
the
The intention,
PIF and
yes.
they're not asking the rank,
Intention
they're
is
not asking the
different.
guy's name. They want to know why it's
Intention is
happening.
different, yes.
And I think keeping with industry standards, people back in who are in the companies should also, and I think a lot of change has happened from the time that we were sailing.
Right.
Blame game has reduced a lot.
Reduce a lot.
Reduced
Yes.
a lot. And
I
of course,
agree
it's a
with that.
work in process.
No, because people tend to think now more on the terms of what we can do management
Yes,
wise and
yes.
what we can change.
So there can be so many things in
yeah,
a VDR where I'll give you a simple example. In VDR, we also ask for the work and rest hours.
Right.
We ask.
Right.
And I
You mean in the RNA or the video?
In the RNA cannot do without VDR. So
yeah,
normally
right.
we get an RNA.
So in the
only.
remote nav audit, you're actually
it's
asking
an RNA.
for yes.
So just the VDR we don't get. We get just the VDR when it's an accident.
Okay.
Then we get only the VDR recording. We're not interested in doing the navigation audit.
Oh, really?
We're interested in knowing what's wrong, what went wrong. So we don't want to really,
Okay.
It's a very not so detailed
Achha.
because then you will just listen to the audio and just see what's happening.
See what's happening.
Yeah. So there you have to
doesn't
correlate.
the accident investigation also include your analysis of the other documents like rest hours and
we get
things
it
like that?
We get it, but the format of the report is different. The
Okay.
accident investigation format is different.
Okay.
RNA format is different.
Okay.
So because like we said, RNA is proactive.
Right.
An accident is already we had an incident, so reactive. Yeah.
Yes. So
So you have the 12-hour. So like you said, so there are different types of the VDR data that we get.
Got
and
it.
Depending on that, we do the analysis.
Right. What would you say? Like you have seen a trend probably over the last. I believe with 200 odd VDRs done, you would be probably one of the few people in the world that would be able to comment on what do you see as the thing that is either lacking or positive. Any comment on how the bridge team operates nowadays? I'm not comparing it with anything anywhere else. Not even comparing it with how it used to operate previously or something. But today's day and age, what do you think are the most, and this is the part of our discussion which probably most people would love to focus on, that if you could, and I remember that you wrote a viral blog for us. I'm saying a viral blog with intention that it really became very popular. The name of the blog was
top five
deficiencies you would find in a VDR analysis, and something like
top
that.
Top 5 things to remember or something.
Top 5 deficiencies or things to remember. So that was very interesting because you pointed out some of the things that we, even probably we have done some of them as a master or as a part of the bridge team. And those are very relatable to everybody. That's why it became so popular. So that's something I would love you to comment on, that the operation of the bridge team. How do you see it?
So I think even in that blog, and I will stick to that still, the first point that I had written was about the master pilot information exchange.
Right.
And when you listen to this, the VDR's audio and all that, one of them and the most common observation probably you will get is on the master pilot information exchange.
Okay.
So I feel that, this is of course very personally I feel that the pilot, he's a foreign body.
Sure.
Yeah. And he comes on board and vessel is just arriving. If it's Singapore Strait or if it's any other congested waters and everything, and he doesn't know any of you when he's on the bridge.
Sure.
And more often than not, a cadet brings him or a junior officer brings him, or sometimes a bosun brings him.
Yeah.
And they just leave him on the bridge, and the master says, "Yeah, okay," and and the guy goes down and he's on his own.
Right.
So for me, even as a master, I was very particular about the pilot part. Because
you mean the master pilot information exchange part? Right.
You're handing over $1 million?
Yes, of course. Close to $1 billion nowadays. Yes. Some of the cargoes.
You don't know him.
Yeah.
You don't know his capabilities. You don't.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you don't know the local area.
Yeah.
You don't speak the local language.
Right.
So there are so many things that you have to consider.
Sure.
So wouldn't you make that guy a friend?
Absolutely.
You should.
Absolutely.
But all the VDRs in the master pilot, it's very, very, very basic. Very few VDRs, audios, I have heard a complete information exchange.
Right.
And by complete, I am also talking about the good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Right.
You know?
So you're saying from the point of making him comfortable,
Yes,
all the way up to informing him and giving the information on the, but not just that, but the things that surround that
Yes.
also, to make him part of the team.
there are a lot of things that can be said, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that people will understand what I'm trying to say. But I can exemplify it.
Right.
Is that there was a time, of course, when I can give you one incident where, and I have also been taught this by a very, very close. Now he's my friend. He was my master.
Right.
And the way he used to treat the pilots, it was like, you wouldn't even way ahead, way more than you would treat your girlfriend.
I see.
And I asked him, I said, sir, he's saying, this is exactly what he told me.
Yeah.
That there are so many things that you don't know. He'd rather be your friend.
Right.
And
right.
I can give you a simple example. I was master. I was a vessel. We were going to Sriracha.
Okay.
And the pilot came up, and as usual, the lift was not working.
Oh God!
And we had a good freeboard. The pilot came on the bridge.
Yeah.
The vessel was stopped. And luckily, there was not much
this,
traffic.
Car carrier or
no, this was a container vessel.
Okay.
And the pilot came, and he came, and he was. I could
Panting.
make out that he was the loss of breath.
Loss of breath. Yes.
So when he came, he started him because he didn't want to show that. Then he said, "Okay, Captain, what are the engines?" So I told him, "Do you want to sit?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Yes." So I made him sit. I gave him water, and I said,
Yeah.
"Don't worry. There is no current, nothing. The vessel is stopped. You take your time.
Right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And if you need any help, any medical assistance, you let me know. It's just relax. There's no problem."
Right.
He
right.
needed those 10 minutes.
Sure.
He didn't do anything. He waited. He had his water, everything. Of course, we went alongside. While we were going alongside, he told me, "Captain, never come from this side. There is one shallow patch here, which is not there in the correction yet.
Wow. Okay.
And sometimes in these months, the current is this way.
Okay.
So approach this." He showed me another approach.
Right.
It was no vessel used to take that. And I asked him, I said, "Is it allowed?" He said, "Yes, it is
I
allowed.
see.
And for your draft, it's perfect."
I see.
This information you can never get from a pilot if you've not broken the ice in the beginning.
That's so important.
So I always put some, and there are a lot of times when the master is not talking at all to the pilot.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Master pilot information exchange is not only what the master is saying. It is also what you have to get out from the pilot.
Yes, of course.
So that will only happen if you open up.
Yeah.
Your wife will only tell you so much that you share. It is always the thing. Yeah.
So true. And I think this borderlines on another thing that very few people understand is that you don't do this only because it's written in a regulation.
Yes.
Like you have asking somebody for a glass of water, asking him to sit down and relax before he takes over the responsibility of such a big operation is not just because you have to do it. That's what because we are primarily for anybody who's a master has sailed for 25 years or more, and they've grown up with a lot of regulations around them, which sometimes makes them think, oh, this is not written anywhere, why do I have to do this? But even if it's not written, it's got to do a lot to do with empathy and the connection, because that you do as a human being to another human being, and then what you're getting out of that is a very tangible, like you said, this example of somebody sharing an information which probably other masters would not know, true. You would know for the rest of your life. Whenever you go to that port, you will avoid that place. That's a brilliant piece of information, which is
every time. It happens every time, and it is not only this guy, he was panting for breath, but there's so many things. A lot of times I don't hear anybody asking them for breakfast or lunch or dinner or sandwich, or very few times it just stops at tea or coffee.
Sure.
Because it's a pleasantry that
But tell me something, Captain Chari. This is interesting. If let's say you hear that it's a very bland bridge team that has no business asking the pilot about anything, would that anyway affect your VDR report?
No. So one more thing about VDR analysis is I would like to share it with all the analysts is don't give any observation which you are not sure of. In the sense that I'll give you another very common example. What happens is it's a very common observation is that picking up pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your bridge watch level. Your watch level says 1/3 officer. I'm just giving example. 1/3 officer,
Sure.
one captain.
I think this is very
One
common
second
as an
officer,
observation.
two officers, one master, and duty AB. And you can hear that the guy is saying, "Oh, hey, second officer, go and bring back, go down." So he goes down. Congested waters.
Now you're left with no officers on the bridge, only master and cadet.
So now it is against your company policy.
Sure.
Your company policy is saying these are the people required. You've sent one guy down.
Sure.
So you're handicapped, right?
Yeah.
So, but now, sometimes it's not clear on the VDR. Okay, maybe you can hear the bridge wing go up and down.
Sure.
Or maybe there's a big challenge in VDR with the audio.
Right.
It's a big challenge.
Okay.
So be very, very careful with how you're managing the audio.
Okay.
If you're not sure, don't give that observation.
Skip
it. You can recommend at somewhere else in the report that bridge watch should be maintained. Don't say that they have not maintained.
Okay.
Because you're not sure, right?
Sure.
Sometimes you're absolutely sure. You heard it.
Yeah.
You have collaborated it.
And this is, I believe, one of the most common types of observation that people have not maintained their bridge watch level while sending down people from
very
the
common.
But then, does it not conflict with your rest hour requirements that now you've got to pick up another officer who's probably resting? I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just saying, isn't it a dilemma in the mind of a seafarer or a captain, for that matter, that I either have to violate my rest hours or I have to violate my bridge manning level. So because I don't want an observation from the VDR, I'll probably violate the manning level and then whatever that discussion. I'm saying I believe it's a common dilemma that a seafarer sometimes has.
Nowadays,
as a master.
Nowadays, I know about when we were sailing, but nowadays, like I was on a chemical tanker. I was doing an audit a couple of years back. They had 2 chief officers, 2 second officers,
but then
2
that's
third
very
officers.
Rare, right?
What I'm trying to say is the companies are now understanding the importance of work rest hour. So there is, and also I think you will agree that for 1 or 2 hours rest hours, if it is violated, it is not a violation.
No, the problem comes not just for 1 hour. No. Yeah, I mean, almost every time when you're entering a port or exiting a port, you're going for a cargo operation. And then sometimes if for example, in US waters, if a person is keeping a 6 on 6 off for 3 days, even 1 hour extra or 45 minutes or 15 minutes extra is a violation. So I'm not saying it's wrong or right.
I'm saying yes. In any vessel, whether it's 6 on 6 off country, they give you an extra officer. They always give you.
Well,
nowadays they do.
Sometimes,
even my time, if there is 6 on 6 off, extra officer is there for sure. Because they also, how can you cannot justify, right? Otherwise, you cannot justify.
Right.
You have to show. You have to show in the mooring, right?
To be very honest, yes.
Arrival departure, you have to show. Forget the VDR.
True.
You cannot justify. So there will be. So, and there is always. And if as a master, I feel that if you think that it is not, you have to raise it with the company.
Sure, but would you say there's another option to solving this issue? Because why I'm pointing this out is...
sorry to cut you, but
sure.
Now, like you rightly said, coming back to the VDR, so now when the KPI comes, and there are 5 such instances on a particular company, and every ship, the bridge watch level then there's something wrong with the company policy.
Sure.
And that is what needs to be addressed.
Right.
So this is what we are here for. This is what they want to do. That's what is lacking. So we don't wait for an incident or accident to happen. That will happen and they'll say, because your duty officer was not rested enough. That's why that incident happened. But now you have done an RNA and through the VDR where it is showing that 5 ships, you had the same observation.
Sure.
There's something wrong with the system.
Yeah.
So
it's building up to be a trend.
Yes. So the VDR reports, we are we get these trends.
Sure.
And these are the trends that the company also wants.
Yeah.
So coming back to why the company should keep giving you the VDR is they want you to find that trend.
Sure. Yeah.
Otherwise, what use is it to them really?
Right.
If there is no, the trend can be on the policy side.
Yeah.
The trend can be on the crew side. The trend can be on the equipment side.
Right.
Yeah. That I'm telling them that your radar, something with the radar.
So the trend comes
that this is not,
5 ships
it doesn't
are not
change
having
to,
this.
I'm just giving it will not happen, but I'm saying that
Not changing
saying that
to
it's not
long-range
changing to
scanning.
relative vector, or it is not changing to this, or this thing is not coming.
Sure.
5 vessels, if they get on the radars, that means something is wrong with the type of radar.
Correct.
So this is the
a couple of branching questions. I have some tangents to go from there. But one of the things that I want to, two of the things that we discussed. One is lack in the effectiveness of master pilot information exchange. And the other thing is people sending down, losing their bridge manning levels, bridge watch levels during the pilots. Now, I want to ask you from the point of view of a seafarer who's actually sailing on a ship. Let's imagine he doesn't have an extra officer. Would you, first of all, in terms of master pilot information exchange, that's got nothing to do with the extra officer, of course, but I'm saying in that terms, what would be your suggestion that how should it proceed, and sort of if you can break it down and how you would ideally want to see it. And this is keeping in mind that this would be your personal opinion. It's not a exact science, but then you are probably more qualified for this opinion than anybody else.
Okay, yes. Of course, when we give the report also, so we give some recommendations in that report, and most of the times the bridge watch level and the rest stars are okay. Sure. It is just by default that the master says, okay, you go in, because they are already there. You see what happens in arrival.
Yeah.
Which duty officer is sleeping? Hardly any.
No, I mean, taking you back, I was talking about the master pilot information exchange first.
Yeah.
So, and then we go to that answer as well.
Stepwise, that one, I would say it should start with a warm greeting.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And before you delve into the technicalities,
sure,
whether he's okay, he's had a nice day. These are very small things that break the ice.
Yes.
Tea, coffee, breakfast, lunch. A lot of times we've had pilots are normally of different nationalities. So, and me being Indian, I always tell him that today we have some Indian culture.
Sure, yes.
Some Indian breakfast. He says, oh, I have heard this.
Masala chai? Has anybody asked you for masala chai?
Something, out of the book.
Right.
Then it breaks the ice, and he also talks a little bit about his nationality.
Right.
These things, they help you when you want to. A lot of people say that master didn't take over the con.
Okay.
Master didn't take over the con when the pilot was doing the mistake. He didn't challenge the pilot. The challenging becomes easy.
That's such an important point.
That time when you have these conversations,
brilliant point.
Yes. Then you can say you have that.
You have that
comfortability,
comfort zone.
Yes. That okay, I have broken the ice with him. I know a little bit about him. He knows a little bit about me.
Yeah.
There is a pilot of this vessel overtaking. Where you will overtake from? Captain, don't worry, starboard side. But if that is the first conversation you're having with him, you will think twice. Should I ask him?
Right.
If he gets angry, it's very. We are talking so much about human nature, but
sure.
We are missing
such an important point which people miss out. I completely.
I
totally
feel
with
that
you on
breaking
that.
the ice, knowing the pilot, half an hour. Even if the pilot, a lot of masters tell me that there only half an hour. What to do? Talk to him.
Right.
So it's like that. So and I have faced it, and I have never had any problem with any pilot. I have challenged pilots.
Yes.
I have even taken over pilots without knowing them that I have taken over.
I agree with you. I've done the same, and it's so easy.
Very easy.
It's not even a big deal.
Yes, and having this conversation, I always had to tell my third officer or second officer on the bridge that there is one secret. If he says slow ahead, and if I do like this, that means it is dead slow ahead.
Okay, right.
These are the things you think the pilot doesn't understand. He understands, but just because we've broken the ice.
No, but then that brings us into another discussion that whether we are trying to, one thing is to maintain the
Yes,
rapport with the
yes,
pilot,
yes.
but the other thing is he's given a certain movement,
Yeah.
and we are not executing that.
No.
That
What I'm trying to say is in
becomes
an emergency.
Yeah, okay.
The original, when there is no emergency, there are so many times when you
Yeah.
feel that the speed is quite high.
Yes, I agree
Yes,
with you.
so
Yes,
many times.
absolutely.
And the vessel
Contact
is on,
speed, especially.
like slow ahead or dead and we can see the.
Sure.
Then, like master pilot information, just give you small example. I have here all masters tell the pilot, okay, Mr. Pilot, this is right-handed fixed pitch propeller, S-turn, vessel goes swing to starboard. Who does not
know that? Yes, of
Who
course.
does not know this? Even the bosun might know. What kind of information exchange is this? Yes, when you are loaded, when you are in ballast, or when you are
mid-draft,
half loaded,
yes,
every time the time taken for it to swing to starboard is different.
Is different.
You know, because you have tried out your S-turn engines before you came in.
Right.
That is what you need to tell the pilot. That today she's fully loaded. She will take, there's a 30-40 second delay. There's a 2-minute delay.
And that could be,
she will swing to starboard.
That could be a most important piece of information, especially on a VLCC
absolutely,
or a,
absolutely.
On a
But
heavy
who
ship,
knows that best? You,
of course,
because you've done it.
Of course.
Pilot has to do it to find out.
Right.
So just simple example is you're going starboard side alongside, okay, and the tug forward is in the push.
Yes.
In the push position.
Yes.
Now you know that as soon as I give S-turn, it will swing to starboard.
Right.
You know that.
So you would have to pull it back.
So you have to tell the pilot in the master pilot information
right.
that it will immediately swing.
Right.
So now pilot knows. So pilot says before he gives the S-turn, he tells the tug, go to pull position, don't pull. Stand
right.
And he gives the stern movement and he's ready to check.
And this could be the difference between a ship making a contact with the jetty,
of course,
and not
between an incident and
the near miss and a routine job. Yes,
so,
exactly.
But we are missing, like you rightly said, they are exchanging information because it is in the pilot card.
Right. Yeah.
Because there is a checklist that I have to follow.
Yeah.
You don't have to follow the checklist. You
have got to follow that, but you have to add to that. Add to the real stuff, the real meat of the.
Yeah, I don't follow means you don't have to follow word by word.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But you have to use your own experience in that checklist.
Into it. Yes.
So it's such a vital information. But nobody, I'm telling you 200 VDRs or whatever the number is, I have never heard anybody discuss this.
Discussing these.
But when I was a master, when I used to tell this to the pilot, the pilot used to look at me.
Right.
And sometimes they were dumbfounded. And sometimes they used to say, this is what I want to know.
Right.
So that is why a lot of master pilot information.
I would say this is not just a matter of a master not saying it, but I would say that, let's say the pilots also, they come with a certain things that they need to talk about with the master. Okay. The empathy part of it and having a good relation is one part of it, but they also have a very clear, okay, I have done 500 berthings in this port. I just don't want to know anything apart from this. Even if I get a pilot card, I'll probably check this information and that information. That's enough. I don't need to. I know the ship from before, this size of a ship. So what I'm saying is, isn't it also a responsibility of the pilot to ask the master about these critical points which you're saying should be any. I mean, what I'm saying is, if we leave it to the judgment of the seafarers or just to the judgment of people, that's probably not as effective as bringing it down as a laid down procedure that, okay, these things have to be discussed. Or let's say when you're going into a port like Juama or Rastanura, you've got to discuss these points before you go in. Whereas this might not be relevant if you're going into a port in China or Japan or something like that. So
I think
how do we bring it into a procedural part as opposed to just expecting that the masters would do that?
So I don't think that it depends on the port. I think it depends on the master.
Okay.
And like we discussed the habit part.
Right.
Okay. Right. So now if I have, because we are discussing about VDR, so I'm again and again going back there. Now if I have 10 VDR reports of a particular company where the MPI master pilot information is weak.
Yeah.
In the sense that the points that are really required is not there.
Not discussed.
I put it as an observation and I put it in recommendation about training.
Right.
Because that is what you want to do to your masters.
Yes.
And the training department needs to make a module or needs to make a certain thing.
Yeah.
Where they need to tell them that, okay, follow checklist, but please use your head.
Right.
Finally, who's responsible if an incident or an accident happens when the master and pilot are there? Master.
Sure.
We know that.
Yeah.
Pilot is never held responsible.
Never held responsible.
So why will he take that extra effort to know how your vessel behaves? He will not. And one more thing, always remember of pilots, they are very confident of their tugs.
Okay.
They are very confident.
Okay.
So when the tugs are solid, they are very confident.
They can simply
they
go in
pull
without...
out, and they are powerful tugs.
Right.
But another thing that is not discussed is the bollard pull.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a eye on a bollard, which is say 80 tons. Okay. Bollard pull of the tug is 120 tons.
Oh yeah, it might just rip off your...
So when in an emergency,
bit.
So we are exchanging master pilot information. You have it in your card.
Sure.
So now pilot knows that 80 tons, 120 tons. But in an emergency, he will ask to pull 100%.
Yes. So it's exerting a force of 120 tons. Anything can happen.
He
might just rip it off. Yes.
But why to get into that situation?
Absolutely.
So so there are. I think that a VDR
get it. Yes.
And this master pilot and things like master pilot information. Things like how he's greeting the pilot. Things like what they're doing during berthing. How the master and third officer are interacting.
Yes.
What is the third officer giving the speed inputs without asking him? Is the third officer chatting with the duty with the steering helm? That's what happens when master and pilot go on the bridge wing.
Right.
Third officer and they are chatting about other things. Right. We as a third officer, we have also chatted.
Correct.
That time there was no VDR analysis. So luckily. But if this is happening, then these are points that need to be put in the report. And it can never come out if I'm doing a physical audit. Never.
Okay. This is one big difference between a physical audit and a VDR.
Wow. So if you have reports like this, you can. It's like you said. It is what was the word you used? Proactive.
It's a proactive approach. Yes.
So I think owners should look at this at a very positive way.
Yes.
I think there is lots to teach and train.
So I think there's a big use case over here which we can apart from depending on the personality of the pilot. I mean, just to break it down, what we just discussed over the last 5-10 minutes is that a master pilot information exchange, apart from following your company procedures and checklists and giving them the pilot card, which is sort of a routine thing, beyond the routine, what is required is to greet them well and to make them feel part of the bridge team.
Because a question is asked always, is pilot part of the bridge team or not?
Sure. Yes.
So pilot is, but provided you make him feel that.
Yeah, he's got to feel that also. He's got
to feel that I'm part of this ship.
Correct.
That I'm part of this bridge. Yeah. Automatically, his involvement changes. Automatically.
Right. So to make him part of the bridge team in every sense of and a lot of empathy comes into that, which is a different subjective discussion. But then you make him part of the bridge team and then you make him relaxed, or him or her, I'm sorry, and relaxed in every sense of the word, but also to give them the information that is really needed for executing that operation, because you're after all executing a very high level operation, which could easily become the newspaper headlines the next day.
Absolutely.
If you go a little bit, and if you do it perfectly, nobody will remember you.
Yes.
So, but if you do one person
it's like
less,
the job of a cook.
Sure.
Every time you have good food, nobody remembers the cook. Like one day he forgets to put the salt.
Yes.
Then you will remember that.
He'll remember
and
that
you will,
forever.
Keep on saying that. He remembers that.
Yes.
So it is something like that,
and this what we discussed is probably going to should be included as part of some kind of a I consciously don't want to use the word training because it's so overused and cliched now, because people think, oh, another training. But no, it's not about the training, but it's about improving the knowledge of in whichever way or form. Through a procedure, it could be through
procedure, or I'm not sure.
Or maybe a training.
Again, it's a procedure.
Yes.
So what I always use the word, and I think that is what is missing in the whole shipping industry, is mentoring.
Right.
Which used to happen when we were there.
Sure.
Like I told you, when I was a mate, the master who was there, he made me the master and made me
reverse mentoring. So he basically
he became the mate on the bridge. When the pilot used to come, he used to tell the pilot, Mr. Pilot, this guy is the master today. He had the courage to do that.
Yes.
And the pilot was like, what? He said, yes, he will be the master. I am there, but he is the master. And I used to be taking the orders.
That is fantastic.
And I used to go on the bridge wing.
Right.
And the master B used to be on the telegraph.
Wow.
I mean, I don't want to
So
name
he's
him.
literally working for you. I mean, on that bridge team. That's the sense.
What kind of confidence he has on himself?
Yes.
That he gives the command to me.
Sure.
Yeah. And I have become master from there.
Right.
So when I did my first anchoring, when I did my first berthing,
it's a routine job.
It was very easy.
Right.
And I did the same with all my mates. Right. And a lot of mates who said, no.
Sure.
We don't want to do it. I said, do it. No problem. So mentoring,
yes,
I will not call it training. I will not call it procedure.
True.
I think mentoring is the word.
Mentoring.
And that is missing. And if the companies feel, this is apart from VDR, but we give these suggestions in the report.
Yeah.
Nobody looks at it. Nobody follows it. But we say,
I hope now they will, if they watch you now. Yeah.
I don't know. But we say that if you don't have enough people, send someone like us. And don't tell the crew or officers or the ship crew that we are sending an auditor. Say you're sending a mentor. Sure. So we can mentor masters, we can mentor mates, we can mentor everybody.
Right.
It is mentoring.
True,
it is
true.
not training.
True.
It is something that is absolutely gone out of the window.
But ideally,
industry.
it should be all of the seniors on board that are doing it. But it's not happening.
Not happening.
We see that
they
all
are under
day.
tremendous pressure.
Correct.
When we were sailing, it was different.
It was different. I agree with that.
Now the mates used to, call us to their cabins and teach us. You remember?
And there's no time for that now anymore. Everybody is.
So we need this rank of a mentor. It can be somebody from the company, but you cannot ask a mentor to do audits, do inspection and mentor. No, he will do only mentoring.
Right.
So I think this is missing from the experience that I've had over all the VDRs.
Sure.
There are a lot of observations that it will never end.
Yeah.
Your podcast.
No. So coming. I mean, just to. So that is about the master pilot information exchange, but. To the next point which you mentioned, what would be your suggestion to the bridge team who does not have an extra officer? Would you want them to, would it be okay if they send a AB or a bosun to pick up the pilot or a smart cadet who's probably not worked up?
A lot of bridge teams do it. Yeah. Lots of them. Yeah. And not only that, your chief officer or your second officer who's going to your forward stations is always awake that time.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of times they are calling that guy and saying, come to the pilot ladder, get him to the bridge. Yeah. So you're following your company policy of an officer escorting the pilot.
Yes.
And you're not breaking your work and rest hours. Because that guy is already in watch or he's awake.
So my point is that, being on the head of a pilot ladder or of a head of the gangway, to ensure that the pilot is coming on board safely is the job. Obviously, a responsible officer should be present there. But once the pilot comes on deck, is it necessary for an officer to escort, or can we have you seen it in any company procedures where they need an officer to escort them on the bridge, or it can be the escorting could be done by an AB or an OS as well, once the officer has confirmed?
Yeah, but I think most of the company procedures that I have gone through is officer has to escort.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's
clear. So, but I understand your point, because escorting is really not so, it's not such a difficult job. But if the procedure says that you have to follow.
Then you have to follow, yes. Of course.
And I have seen a lot of vessels do this. They get that chief officer or the person who's responsible for forward stations, who's awake.
To get them on the bridge.
He just gets him on the bridge and he goes down. And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But what happens? If nothing happens, nothing happens.
Sure.
But in that, the pilot is coming out or coming in or going down, and your bridge watch level is not maintained as per your procedure.
Right.
Even if the pilot boat comes and hits you.
Sure. Yes.
Then you know how investigations.
Of course.
It will come to me only.
Correct.
And I will say bridge watch level was not.
Correct.
Although it might not be the main reason. Sure. Or it might be, because a lot of times what happens, why this bridge watch level is for me, it's very important. More often than not, when you have the lower bridge watch level, or you send someone, that is the exact time when the pilot boat calls on the VHF or the chief engineer calls on the phone. Yes.
Right.
And so the one officer that you have, he's either answering on the VHF or he's answering the phone.
On the phone.
And the master is on the bridge wing, right? This is what we do.
Right.
So who's there on the bridge?
Right.
So that is why, that's how the extra officer thing came.
Yes.
So it is important.
Right.
It is vital.
Got
so like you said, once the pilot is on the vessel,
Yeah.
then if the procedure says so, then maybe somebody else can bring.
Yeah.
But
if it allows for that.
from my own experience and from what I see in the recordings, there is always somebody there, an officer,
Yeah.
to escort up and down.
Right.
I have heard a lot of times when departure also, they call the officer from down,
Right.
who is at the aft station.
Right.
They come up, he comes up, takes the pilot down.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
that
And
happens.
sometimes it also happens that, as you said, if the chief officer is going to go for the forward station and he's bringing the pilot up, he could also, if the passage allows for that, he could also hang around for a little bit more and
Yes.
understand what is required of him in the forward station,
Yes.
one-on-one,
Yes.
before he
Yes.
proceeds down there.
The briefing,
you know.
you mean? Yes,
The briefing,
of course.
yeah. It could be
A lot
part of
times,
the bridge team
lot of times
briefing.
it happens, depending on the
Yes.
passage. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, sure.
Absolutely. That's a...
So there are
great,
a lot of things that we know,
Yeah.
I feel. It's not that the masters don't know.
Of course.
They know.
Of course.
Another good thing I would want to say is I have heard sometimes that the master is not doing it, but the second officer takes over and does the master pilot information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he gives valuable information because
Right.
maybe he has been trained by someone good.
By
knows
somebody
what
well.
to do
Yes.
or what to say.
Yes.
Or the chief officer is on the bridge.
Sure.
And he
Sure.
does the master pilot information.
Yeah. Yeah.
So master pilot information is not only master, it is information, vital information about the ship that
that
needs to be delivered. And
True.
master is there, he's listening.
True.
So it is okay for the second officer or then now second officer, some people will say, oh, the master might get angry or offended
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
These are things, again, these are human factors. From the VDR
You've got
point
to
of view,
take it as it
we have to do a
comes.
podcast on human factor then to understand all this. But
Sure.
yeah,
We should do that sometime.
So anyway, I think these are the two main things.
Two main. But what other observations are the main ones, would you say? I mean,
quite a bit.
I
quite a few.
remembered that in the
Yeah,
blog
number
that you had
5.
written, there was quite a bit.
These two were there. Then I think there was also something about relative vector, true vector on the.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. It doesn't have to come from the blog. By your experience, what would you say are the main points that the bridge team and how they should? What do you see as a
one very
trend?
important part is it doesn't happen with some nationalities, but we are multinationalities. Happens is if the master and chief officer. So let's say, take an example that there is master and 2 officers and duty AB, helmsman, on the bridge, and the master and 1 officer are of one nationality.
Okay.
And the other duty officer and the helmsman is of one nationality.
Okay.
You will find that those 2 are speaking in their language and these 2 are speaking in their language, which I think is a big drawback.
Right.
And especially with the pilot being there.
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have also done it many times.
Yes.
So it always creates a doubt in the pilot's mind.
Yeah.
Okay, is everything okay? What are they thinking?
It's true.
You know?
Yeah.
So I feel that you have official language.
Yes.
As per all SMS.
Of course.
Just follow that.
Just follow the official
follow
language.
that.
That's a very important part. And that actually brings me to another question, that as a VDR analyst, are you authorized to give any observation based on the pilot's actions? Like, for example, if the pilot does the same problem, has the same problem that he's always talking to his tugs or her tugs in a local language, which the master has no clue what the tugs are going to do now, pulling, pushing, or whatever, that's also another problem, right, of the bridge team. Now, as a VDR analyst, are you giving that observation as well?
I can't give it as an observation.
Oh, okay.
But I give it as a recommendation.
Okay.
Or there is a part of, in the final report. But when there's an accident or an incident, this becomes a point.
This becomes a point.
This becomes an observation.
Of course.
But for the RNA,
regular RNA does not become an observation.
But we put it on. I will give you very. This is, again, I cannot name the company. Singapore Transit.
Right.
Master and chief officer, East European. Okay. And the other, I think from the Philippines, one other officer and the
helmsman. Yeah.
Throughout the transit from 1 fathom bank, the mate was in his watch 8 hours, and he was also coming up because probably some training was the master.
Right.
I don't know. He was here. He was as an extra officer.
Okay.
because they had they had 2 second houses, 1 third house, so there was no problem with the rest house.
Right.
Mate was keeping only cargo.
Okay.
Throughout the transit, they spoke in their local language.
Okay.
But the master was impeccable. He didn't miss an alteration. He did not miss anything off the thing. He was noticing it,
right.
telling the helmsman, telling the other duty officer,
right.
Did you check that? Are you plotting position? But both of them were continuously talking in their language.
Right.
And that had nothing to do with the navigation part. Because we
part.
can make out when you're talking about navigation and you're talking about other things.
Sure. Yes.
Continuously.
Okay.
8, 9 hours they spoke, 10 hours, 12 hours they spoke. And in my report, not in the observation, I just generally wrote that this is the thing.
The remarks part of it.
So the company came back. This is the role of the company.
Yes.
We are only doing one part actually as an analyst. The company came back. They said, why you have not put this in the observation? I said, because the master was impeccable.
It did not affect
safe navigation.
Sure. Yeah.
Then they asked me, so you will wait for him to run aground or hit someone, and then you will put it as an observation that they were disturbing the other speaking local language.
Right.
So I said, then they asked me, can you record that part, Batu Baranti, 1 fathom, can you send us that conversations?
The audio clips.
Send it to them.
The audio clips. Right.
So I said, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then I did it, and I sent it. And they made me change the report and put it
as This is a very important learning lesson, I believe, that even if you're not talking about navigation, you might be a very senior master or a very senior, bridge team member. And you might be absolutely sure that my discussion with this guy doesn't affect my work. That is not the point over here. Yeah, I mean, you have to be following the official language. Yes.
Which is required.
Yes.
They are not seeing VDR only as, 5 observations. Okay, observation closed, very good.
Right.
No.
Right.
What is the learning experience from there?
Right.
What is the use, like you said?
Yeah.
So we need more people like that in the company.
Yeah.
Then our effort as a VDR analyst is completed on the other side, because we are also we have been masters.
Yeah.
Don't want to find the fault.
Yes.
Don't like it.
Yes.
Because one of the challenges of being an analyst is that the master comes back and says, no, this is right. This is not what happened.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And sometimes he
so
has
he's challenging
your yes. Okay. Because remember one thing, as a VDR analyst, if you don't have the CCTV footage, you're a blind guy. So also
just
forget about the CCTV on the radar also.
Yes.
You see one target and you see it's on your range. And
not acquired. Yes.
But the master who's there and seeing, both of us have been masters, we know whether need to acquire or not acquire. So you can't put that as an observation. People put it.
Okay.
I used to put it when I started.
Okay.
Then I realized, no, this is not my job.
Are you saying that if I'm confident, because this could be one of the areas where people might have difference in opinions, that are you saying that if I am sure about what the vessel is going to do, do you think it's allowed not to acquire it? I'll give you an example from my life, from my own experience, is that I was in the Singapore Strait, and as I was going through the channel, there was this set of 5 fishing boats which were lined up, all heading away from me. And I was sanguine, this is not going to affect. They are all going away from me. I'm going straight. There's no alteration coming up.
From the trail, you mean?
No, I could see them visually. I did not, they came on the radar and I had acquired it, but I could see that they are all facing away and I could see it very clearly. It was a clear day. What I did not know is they are all falling back. They are not going that way. They are laying their nets and they're falling back and they're actually coming through over to my course. Yeah. And if I had not acquired them, I would not have understood that.
Yes.
So sometime do you think that in which case would you say it is okay for a master not to acquire a radar target?
So we can't be specific about this. Yeah. It was just I just trying to exemplify that sometimes visually you're in a better place to judge, where you are. Singapore Strait, I would plot everything. So it was not Singapore Strait.
Yes.
So the trails were there.
Right.
So I'm just giving the thing that sometimes as one of the biggest challenge of the that sometimes you're not sure. If you're not sure, don't put it.
Okay.
As you can put it in the report. somewhere, don't put it as an observation.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
these are
Okay.
one of the challenges.
One question. I mean, like you said, there was this company which actually wanted you to put something as an observation, even though you had put it in the remark.
Yes.
Are there companies that want you to put something as a remark where you have actually put it in as an observation?
So it all depends. Yes, it's definitely company specific.
Okay.
Maybe person specific who's sitting in the company.
Specific, how he wants to perceive the report.
Oh, Captain, too many observations. Just take out this and put it in the remark, or vice versa. Why did you put this in the remark? This is a very fair point. Put it in the observation.
These are the things that are happening. I mean, but can you consciously take something completely away from a report when you know that has happened and you feel that it should be in the report? Are you going to take it off because the company is saying that?
Finally, it's the company's decision and what they want to do with the report. My initial report is the true
yeah,
report.
So your report, you stick to that report,
yes,
right?
And
then whatever they want to hide, they want to remove something internally.
It could be for many reasons.
Many reasons.
Reasons differ.
Sure.
We can't be the judge of that.
Yeah.
Our job, my job as the analyst is just to get make the report from whatever data
that
available.
is there. Absolutely.
And sometimes data is not available readily. That's another challenge with the VDR part.
Right.
Is you might get a VDR software.
Yeah.
Which can give you only one radar, no EGDIS.
Oh, okay.
Then you have to do the EGDIS screenshots.
Okay.
It's not the same.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't get the EGDIS. Sometimes you just get one radar.
Yes.
And sometimes the audio quality is bad.
Okay.
So there's a lot of sometimes the documents are not. They couldn't send the documents.
Even if the VDR is not giving you the EGDIS recording, every EGDIS almost has a playback feature.
Yes.
So do you ever ask for that playback to be recorded and sent to you in case you...
We ask for the screenshots. So they play it back and keep every 2 minutes they put screenshots, and then that is what they send.
Yeah, I don't think the EGDIS would allow the recording of the entire video as a playback.
No.
Only screenshots is allowed.
But in screenshots, a lot of data is lost.
Yes.
Not all data is there.
Of course.
So the screenshots, just to see whether they are in the on track.
Yeah.
Nothing else comes.
Right.
Actually.
Right.
So it's really not a but these are challenges of the audit. Sometimes we get only 2-3 observations because you don't have a EGDIS. You don't have the S-band radar. Not there. Only one X-band radar.
X-band is there.
So it's very difficult.
X-band is always there.
The X-band is there in all VDRs.
All VDRs. Yes. No. So going back to the challenges that not to the challenges but to the operation of how the bridge team is functioning, do you see any problems with regard to communication within the bridge team members, or not just in terms of using a different language, but somebody said something and wrong miscommunication happened, and then
very common, like second officer sometimes correcting the master.
Okay.
So we put it as a good observation.
Yeah.
We put it as we have in all the reports. There is good practice and observations.
Could you give an example of what kind of communication would happen?
Like sometimes, a lot of times, when very common thing is that the master has so many things on his mind,
right?
And then he has altered somewhere,
sure,
where the alteration is not yet there,
right?
Or he has increased the speed where it is not required,
right?
Second mates or the mate who's there,
right?
And the master agrees.
He does.
And sorry. And that we don't put as an observation. We should not.
Understood.
It is definitely because you want to inculcate that habit and highlight. This is good bridge team management.
Yeah. Right.
So then about the briefing part.
Yeah.
So master calls everybody, does a briefing just before entering Singapore Strait.
Okay.
We don't hear that often.
Okay.
But when we hear, it's a very good practice.
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. So these are small things which are.
And do you feel there's a stark difference between an announced and an unannounced audit? It is.
Yes, very much. So. We tend to ask the operator that whether this is announced. If he says it's announced, then our perspective of analysis differs.
It becomes more stricter.
More stricter in the sense we look for other things.
Okay.
Because then you can make out. Sometimes the operator doesn't say, we don't know in this.
Right.
And then you can hear that the duty officer is telling the other duty officer at 5 minutes to 4 o'clock, let us take over watch now.
Okay.
Okay, please hand over the watch to me.
Right.
These
things are not really usually said. Yes.
We will never say. We will hand over the watch and we will follow the checklist.
Yeah.
But we will not use these sentences. So these are clear giveaways, indications that this is unannounced audit.
Right.
So
right.
then perspective changes. We want to see more as to because now we know that the communication but another thing is just since you asked,
Yeah.
sometimes when a close quarter situation happens, it
Right.
happens in the Straits, or
Right.
it can happen arrival departure, not
Yeah.
with the pilot, without the pilot. Then you can make out the actual bridge communication between the masters and officers.
Right.
Then they forget whether it is announced or unannounced, obviously. Because they are in
Then
panic.
the instinct will take over.
And sometimes some very good observations come from there.
Yeah.
That the second officer has just said the right thing to the right master.
Yeah. You mean the
right
positive
yes,
observations
yes,
come
yes,
from that?
Yes. Sometimes.
Right.
So we
right.
put it because this
So
is an
that's
actual
the-
scenario
Yeah.
where they suddenly got close. Maybe not because
Yeah.
of anybody's fault,
Yeah.
or whatever it is, or maybe it was their fault, but the communication saved them.
Right.
So yeah.
Now, this is a very this is sort of stripping everything out and then putting you into a situation
Yes.
with bare essentials. But what have you learned all these years? Now face the situation. How do you react? Is a much more objective reflection
Yes.
of how the bridge team actually is.
See, audio is very, very important in the media. The audio is clear. A lot of things can come out. A lot of times,
The audio is
a very,
garbled
very
sometimes.
common.
Right?
Getting back to that is one observation where every steering test arrival,
Yes.
they don't do it on the NFU mode.
Okay.
Very common.
Okay.
They just not departure. Departure is very thorough.
Okay.
But arrival, they don't do they do the steering, hard put hard stop.
Not the NFU.
Not the NFU.
Okay.
And I hear the master telling the duty officer, put NFU. Put it.
Okay.
This is clear. That's a big observation for me. Firstly, you have not done it, and then you asked the officer to put it.
So how do you know they have not done it? I mean,
because they are doing the testing. I know.
Yeah.
So I can see whether they are on hand steering mode or NFU mode. We can see it on the.
Oh yeah. Okay.
On the panel.
Okay. You can
This
see
is the
that
beauty
from the
of VDR RNA.
Yeah.
So these things happen. Engines not tested.
Right.
They are running late to pick up pilot.
Right.
And they say, I can hear them say,
yes.
Okay, what time did we give 1 hour notice? Okay, put main engines tested.
Oh, okay.
These are unannounced audits.
Unannounced audits, obviously.
So these are things
they don't
which
know
happen.
what.
But
I mean, okay.
Yeah, but I feel that for example, the engine's not tested. If it is not tested and you're late for pilot, pick up the pilot, and as soon as the pilot is on board, test it in front of the pilot.
If you can, yes, at that point of time. That is something I felt it should never be missed out. I mean, no matter how you could definitely delay you cannot delay the pilot, but I mean, you should actually.
But you can't
something
delay the pilot also. This just takes. That's what a lot of masters, a lot of navigators, they forget that if the vessel is only not safe, it will never reach anywhere.
Of course.
So if the vessel is good, safe, everything okay,
yes,
then you will reach sooner or later.
Right.
So
true.
Priorities. It is, in our time, they should call checklist masters. But I think now is much better.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I think we've touched upon so many things. Just before we wrap up, I mean, first of all, you were talking about the challenges of being an analyst. If you could
one of the things that, like I said, was sometimes data is not enough.
Okay.
Sometimes the audio is not good.
Right.
Sometimes you're not sure.
Sure.
Yeah. I gave you those examples. Sometimes also it's a challenge in the sense that the company says, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And all that. But so that can
I think your years also play a very big role in it, because I have seen some audits that you have done where, and I have also seen another audit done by some other gentleman where I could not understand the audio really, but you could pick it up. I mean, you could understand probably because the fact that you have done so many. So now your ears are trained to pick up those words.
Audio settings are there in every software.
Yeah.
So some don't have, but most of them have.
Does it ever depend on your system that you're doing it on, or the earphones you're using, or something?
Earphone definitely.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think don't ever do any future analysts don't ever do an analysis with a laptop speaker on.
Oh, okay. You have to use a headphone.
You need. It's very, very vital. Like you said, the audio gives away a lot of things.
Yes.
So yes, definitely, especially when the master and the pilot are on the bridge wing. And they're discussing the forward stations, rope, this, that, and all that. that audio also you need to hear.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Challenges.
So
These
those are the main challenges.
Yes.
And before we end this, what would be first of all, is there any qualification to become a VDR analyst, or any best practice or anything that you feel that should be a prerequisite so that they become a proper analyst?
Industry standard wise, there is no regulation right now.
So you're saying even a second officer can become an analyst?
They are doing it.
They're doing
so
it.
Companies, because like they said, companies they are thinking there's a SIRE requirement, TMSA requirement. I just need one RNA.
Okay.
So they are catching anybody, cheapest guy available, saying you do it, and they are just saying just gives 2-3 observations.
Yes.
It's all predetermined.
Yeah.
So there is no regulation.
Okay.
Anybody can do it.
Right.
But I think there should be.
But
it's not in our hands. And I think a course or a guidance.
But then there are very few courses on this, right? I mean,
actually, there is.
Yeah.
Even I don't know. I think I don't remember, but I think I did one which is class approved.
Right. You did from IRS, right?
But it is stopped now. They don't do it anymore.
Okay.
So I don't think
there are very few courses. I mean,
because
we used
the
to do
requirement
one,
is not
so
there. If now suddenly TMSA or some international body says that this RNA who has to be done by the.
But ideally, you're saying that to be to be experienced in the kind of things that you face day in and day out as an analyst, a slight bit of a sort of a familiarization is required.
I think
for
so,
that.
yes, because there are so many softwares and so many.
That's fair, yes, of course.
I also, I think we did not discuss, but we need to probably say this, is that now there are a lot of companies who have this software which can accept any software, any VDR software,
decode any software,
and
VDR
make it
data,
into their own, and
show you
automated thing, so you don't need the software.
Yeah, we didn't touch upon that software part at all, but yes.
Nowadays, this is something new, and people are doing it. And there is they are trying to upgrade it so that the KPIs are automatically set out from the observations. This is what we are doing physically.
And my personal thing is, and tell me if I'm right over here, that beyond understanding the software and the other things, I feel it's important that you have sailed as a master, where you have the entire understanding of how the team works before you are qualified to be, or you may be not required to do that, but you should be doing that. You should have sailed as a master before you assess a bridge team.
True, because
that is very,
like I said, the most common observation is master pilot information.
Sure.
If you have not sailed as a master, how will you gauge or assess the other master or the pilot? It's not possible. So yes, definitely, absolutely, master. This is my personal opinion that a master will do a much better job.
Yes,
than probably a junior rank officer.
Great. So I think we have touched upon so many different topics. Is a little bit conscious about the time right now. Otherwise, we could have gone on. You know that.
Yeah.
We could have gone on, and probably I personally feel that there are so many tangents from the discussions which we have already had that we could have another separate podcast only on this, but also on other things that you are, for example, we could talk about so many things like offshore vessels or hazmat and other things, and audits and inspections, SIRE 2.0, which is we are working very actively. We see the the interest in SIRE 2.0 and so many other things that we can talk about. So would love to do that with you, Captain Chari, and it was an absolute pleasure. This was so I think we have I hope to have answered a lot of questions that was probably brewing in the minds of bridge deck officers. This has been a very deck centric
because
podcast.
It's VDR, so
it's VDR, but that's all right. we can always touch upon other topics later on, but fantastic. It's so nice to have you. If you have any other
thank you for having me here. This is my first this kind of an experience. So I'd love to see the outcome, and I'd love to see
me too.
And I'd love to see how I look on camera. So thank you, and anytime, I'll be happy to be here, and I'm sure this is just a start.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and I wish you all the best in all that you are doing. This is only one part of what you're doing. Yeah. So, I hope that I wish you all the success
Thank you.
in your company and as well as in this new
Venture,
podcast
yeah.
venture that you have started.
Yeah.
So, all the best. And again, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Kamjari.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Bye.